there, my name is Martha and welcome to my Draw My Life video. Just kidding, it's actually a Draw My Bus Ride video. Hope you enjoy! Oh look, that's me! Striking resemblance, don't you think? Last Friday, my Exploring Hamilton Inquiry class took the HSR bus all the way from McMaster University to Eastgate Square. Stay tuned to see what happens. At 11:30 a.m., I took my Presto card and I hopped into the 5 bus at King and Paisley. The bus was pretty packed when I got on. It was mostly filled with students and young professionals, so I squished myself beside a window to try and get the best view of Westdale. You can say Westdale is a pretty hip area. There's a lot of small boutiques, hipster coffee shops, and local restaurants and pubs. There's even an old theater that's being restored. A lot of students live in the area, but also a lot of young families. The streets are usually pretty busy, and the local businesses seem to get a lot of activity, even mid-afternoon. The streets are quite narrow, but they do have bike paths. There's also a few Sobe bike racks around Westdale. The area is quite green, and there's always seasonal decorations, like haystacks for fall. Not a bad place to live during your undergrad, if you ask me. As we moved east, the streets started to get wider. We began to see some plazas appear with larger commercial chains. For example, a personal favorite would be the 24-hour McDonald's at Main and Dundurn that will satisfy all of your 2 a.m. chicken nugget cravings. We also saw large billboards starting to appear on the sides of the road. At Main and Queen, in the large brick houses with the big bay windows, there were a lot of private practices like dentists, chiropractors, doctors, hair salons, lawyers, etc. But in contrast to these beautiful houses, on the side streets you could see some much smaller houses that looked like they were falling apart a bit. For example, I definitely saw a few slanted roofs and cracked windows. Moving closer to downtown, the bus slowly started to clear up. At Main and McNabb, almost the entire bus cleared out. Turns out, I was actually taking the wrong bus. Whoops, my bad. So I had to get off as well to switch to the 1. When the 1 bus came, I hopped on and I took a seat by the back window. In contrast to the 5, this bus was almost empty. I also noticed that as we were moving through downtown, there was more of an older population getting on the bus, as well as a few people with physical disabilities. Downtown Hamilton had a very mixed dynamic. You had your old historic buildings, such as the New Visions United Church and the old bank buildings, mixed in with new class skyscrapers. There was also quite a few skyscrapers under construction. On the streets, the dynamic of people walking around was pretty unique. There was quite a few business professionals walking around with their suits and their coffee cups in hand, and also a number of people from a noticeably lower socioeconomic class, and even a few homeless people that were collecting spare change and coffee cups. We drove past City Hall, whose advertisement display showed "Rabies is real" in bright lights, so watch out there, I guess. We also drove past the David Braley Health Sciences Center and the McNabb bus terminal. Overall, downtown looked pretty gray and cold that day, but that was probably due to the overcast. As the bus moved out of downtown, there was certainly a few noticeable changes. The green space slowly started to decrease, and the buildings became lower and were in slightly worse shape. A lot of the windows had security crates covering them, some of the signs were torn, and there was quite a few buildings that were standing empty and had boarded over windows. When I looked at the stores that were in business, they didn't seem to be getting much traffic either. Also, the number of pedestrians on the street decreased, while the number of parking lots seemed to be increased, which I found kind of interesting. At Main and Victoria, we passed by St. Patrick's Church, which had a beautiful facade and a neighboring school with kids playing outside for recess. As we were driving down, the Salvation Army and Cilantro Peruvian Cuisine definitely stood out due to their colorful buildings. I noticed that there were no more bike lanes and in fact no bikers on the road, though I did spot a few Sobe bike stations. Between Main and Victoria and Main and Barnsdale, there was quite a few bargain stores, and at Main and Barnsdale, there were a lot of colorful gardens and flower beds starting to appear in front of the houses. The side streets were also lined with large old trees. And then we came to Gage Park. The gated park was very lush and had a lot of large trees. It spanned at least 2 or 3 blocks. We passed a Go Ticats sign in front of one of the shops. Yay, Go Ticats go! At Main and Hudson, there was a lot of car and auto body shops. Like a lot. At Main and Cochrane, there seemed to be a lot of empty space. More parks and green space started to pop up as we passed the Red Hull Valley Trail. As we got over the highways, there were taller apartment buildings, and at Queenston and Queenston Place, there were larger shopping plazas, and the area kind of resembled a suburban landscape. And And lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, we had arrived at our destination, Eastgate Square. I got there a little bit early, so I shopped around for a unicorn onesie before meeting up with the class in front of the Tim Hortons. Thank you so much for joining me on my bus ride. I hope you enjoyed it. Bloopers! So, number 1, on the way there, I saw a few dogs that didn't have tails. And I was a little bit concerned by this, so I asked Sean when we got there, and he said that they're probably Rottweilers who, by regulation, have to get their tails cut off. Poor doggos. Number 2, so I took a second bus ride to Eastgate Square a few days later, and when we got to Eastgate Square, I didn't realize that everyone had gotten off the bus, and somehow I managed to get myself locked on an empty HSR bus all alone. Classic me. Thanks.